Hi everyone. Welcome to Thomas Japanology channel. Today, you and I are going to do something extraordinary. We are going to walk through time. We are going to stand where samurai once stood. We are going to touch the oldest surviving castle tower in Japan, Inuyama Castle. But this is not just about stone walls and wooden beams. This is a story of ambition, of war, of survival, and of quiet beauty. Inuyama Castle is more than a historical landmark. It is a living monument, a memory that refuses to fade. And for this time, you and I will explore every layer of its mystery, wonder, and legacy. So get comfortable, whether you're walking, commuting, or relaxing at home. Let Inuyama Castle take you on a journey unlike any other.
Chapter 1: Origins and the Oda Legacy. Let's begin at the beginning. It was the year 1537. Japan was fragmented, a patchwork of warring lords, or daimyo. Among them was a lesser-known but ambitious clan, the Oda. Oda Nobuyasu, uncle of the future unifier Oda Nobunaga, chose a strategic hill overlooking the Kiso River to build a small but defensible fortress. He named it Inuyama-jo, Dog Mountain Castle. Why dog? That part remains a mystery. Some say the hill resembled a dog lying down. Others link it to local folklore about guardian dogs that protected the village from fire. In Japanese culture, names have power, and Inuyama's name carried loyalty, protection, and strength. But the Oda family wasn't content with just defending their land. They had greater ambitions, and this castle would play a key role in their rise. As the birthplace of the Oda clan's influence in central Japan, Inuyama Castle became a silent witness to political marriages, betrayals, sieges, and victories. Oda Nobunaga, one of the most transformative figures in Japanese history, walked these very halls as a young boy. This castle was his playground and his training ground. It's incredible to think the same view you see from the top, he saw too. The Sengoku era, roughly 1467 to 1603, was a time of endless conflict. Japan was not a unified country. It was hundreds of provinces fighting for dominance. Inuyama Castle found itself right in the middle of this chaos. The castle changed hands multiple times. Powerful warlords, including Toyotomi Hideyoshi, Tokugawa Ieyasu, and Takeda Shingen, all took an interest in the strategic location of Inuyama. Each time the castle was conquered, it was modified. Walls were reinforced, towers were repaired, and the defensive layout evolved. In 1584, during the Battle of Komaki and Nagakute, Inuyama Castle served as a forward base for Toyotomi Hideyoshi. It played a crucial role in one of the most politically complicated standoffs in Japanese history. Imagine the tension. Thousands of soldiers camped in the surrounding fields, messengers galloping through the narrow roads, strategists poring over maps inside the castle. The very air must have felt electric. But despite all this, Inuyama Castle survived. It was never reduced to ruins, not by war, nor fire, nor politics. And that makes it different. It stands not just as a relic, but as a rare survivor of the Age of Warriors. この先さらに続きます。The Edo period, spanning from Noknoku Thrine to Shihatenrikuzi Watch, was a time of relative peace under the Tokugawa shogunate. With conflict largely subdued, castles across Japan transformed from war zones into centres of administration and governance. Inuyama Castle, too, found a new purpose. After Tokugawa Ieyasu emerged victorious at the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, the castle was entrusted to a loyal retainer, Naruse Masanari. Thus began the rule of the Naruse clan, who would govern the Inuyama domain for over 250 years. But what made the Naruse stewardship so remarkable wasn't just its longevity, it was their devotion to the castle and the town. Unlike many daimyo who eventually abandoned or dismantled their castles due to shogunate restrictions, the Naruse family maintained Inuyama Castle with exceptional care. They lived close by, they governed responsibly, they invested in the local economy, agriculture and culture. And perhaps most touching of all, they considered the castle not only a symbol of authority, but of service. Records from the Edo period reveal detailed logs of repairs, festivals, tax records, and even public works. The Naruse didn't see the castle as a museum, but as a living, breathing headquarters for the people. That legacy endured long after the shogunate collapsed in 1868. Even in the Meiji era, when many castles were torn down or sold off, Inuyama Castle remained in the hands of the Naruse family. They preserved it quietly with dignity until 2004, when they entrusted it to the city of Inuyama. This chapter of the castle's story of peaceful governance, not violent conquest, is just as important as its origins. It shows how power, when coupled with responsibility, can create enduring harmony. When you first see Inuyama Castle, it might not look as imposing as Himeji or Osaka Castle. It doesn't dazzle with white plaster or sprawling grounds. But step closer, notice the grain of the wood, feel the weight of time in each creaking floorboard. This castle is made almost entirely of natural materials, Japanese cypress, pine and stone. And what it lacks in grandeur, it makes up for in detail. The main keep, or tenchu, is 4 stories high, built on a stone foundation that elevates it another level. The design is a hybrid of architectural styles, an early form of the Borogata style where a square structure sits atop a sloped roofline. This was intentional. The lower floors were made for defense. Thick wooden pillars absorb shock from earthquakes. Deep staircases slow enemy intruders. Stone walls deflect arrows and cannonballs. But the upper floors, they were designed for command, wide views of the land, natural light, and strategic access points. One of the most beautiful features is the wooden balcony on the top floor, called the Tsukimi Yagura, or moon viewing turret. Originally used by generals to survey the land, it also served a more poetic purpose, a place to watch the moon rise, to reflect, to breathe. Every nail, every joint in Inuyama Castle was handcrafted by artisans who understood both the function and the spirit of architecture. There is no steel reinforcement, no concrete, no synthetic sealants, and yet it has stood strong for almost 500 years. Isn't that incredible? In modern architecture, we talk of sustainability, but the samurai builders of the 16th century understood this intuitively. They built to last, and they succeeded. Let's go deeper. Every good castle hides a few secrets, and Inuyama Castle is no exception. You might not notice them at first, but once you start looking, a world of ingenious defensive technology reveals itself. Let's begin with the trapdoors, known in Japanese as mushageishi. These are hidden hatches in the ceilings or walls from which defenders could pour boiling water or drop stones on invaders who breached the interior. They could also be used as ambush points by waiting guards. Next, there are the arrow slits, or yazama, and gun ports, or teppozama. These narrow openings allowed defenders to shoot arrows or matchlock firearms without exposing themselves to enemy fire. Then observe the narrow, steep staircases. These weren't designed to inconvenience tourists. They were meant to slow down attackers, especially in full armor, and to force them to climb single file, vulnerable to defenders above. Another trick? The squeaky floors. That's right, the floors of Inuyama Castle creak loudly when you walk on them, and it wasn't by accident. This acted like an early warning system. If an enemy or assassin tried to sneak into the castle at night, the sound would give them away. There are also hidden rooms, small chambers built behind sliding panels or inside double walls. These could be used to store weapons, house hidden guards, or even serve as escape routes. One especially clever feature is the angled eaves and overhanging walls on the top floor. From here, rocks or boiling oil could be dropped straight down on enemies scaling the walls. Everything about Inuyama Castle was designed with one question in mind. How do we protect those inside without sacrificing beauty or harmony? And that is the genius of samurai architecture. It is as artistic as it is strategic, as poetic as it is practical. Now let's climb to the very top. The top floor of Inuyama Castle, the lookout, offers one of the most breathtaking panoramic views in Japan. From here, you can see the Kiso River winding like a silver ribbon through the plains. To the north, the foothills of Gifu. To the south, on a clear day, you might even glimpse the outskirts of Nagoya. But this view wasn't built for beauty alone. In the Sengoku era, vantage points like this could mean the difference between victory and defeat. A general would stand right here, scanning the land for enemy movement. Smoke from campfires, glinting armor in the distance, signals from allies. This was the control tower of war. It's said that Oda Nobunaga himself once stood here dreaming of unifying Japan. Imagine him, hands behind his back, surveying his destiny. But the view also held spiritual value. In Shinto and Buddhist traditions, high places are sacred. The mountain, the sky, the horizon, they connect us to the divine. So while the castle served military needs, it also nourished the soul. To this day, many visitors say they feel something up there. Peace, clarity, presence. It's not just about what you see, it's about what you feel when you see it. Castles don't live alone, they breathe with the people around them. And Inuyama Castle is no exception. Every spring, the city hosts the Inuyama Festival, a celebration that dates back over 380 years. The highlight? Enormous wooden floats called Yama, each up to 8 meters tall, pulled through the narrow streets by teams of locals dressed in traditional attire. Each float carries a small karakuri puppet stage, and these mechanical dolls perform during the parade. At night, the floats are lit with dozens of paper lanterns, glowing like stars. The entire city transforms into a dreamscape of movement, music, and memory. This isn't just for tourists, it's a ritual of pride and continuity. Children learn to guide the floats, elders teach the puppet mechanics. It's tradition passed hand to hand, generation to generation. And always, rising above it all, is Inuyama Castle. Watching, remembering. In the flicker of lanterns, the castle doesn't seem old, it seems timeless. These festivals are not just entertainment, they are proof that history is still alive. Step outside the castle, and you'll find yourself in one of the most charming castle towns in Japan. Cobblestone streets, preserved Edo-era houses, sake breweries, sweet shops, and the ever-present sound of water flowing from old stone gutters. You can stroll through the historic merchant quarter, trying traditional Japanese snacks like gohei mochi, grilled rice cakes brushed with miso sauce, or buy a hand-carved Kakeshi doll from a local artisan. Many of the buildings here are protected heritage properties. They stand as testimony to the fact that Inuyama was not just a military stronghold, it was a hub of commerce, artistry, and life. Visit Orakuen Garden, home to one of Japan's most revered tea houses, built in the 17th century by a disciple of tea master Sen no Rikyu. It's a national treasure, just like the castle itself. Or head to the Karakuri exhibition hall, where you can see the mechanical puppets used in the Inuyama festival up close, learn how they're made, and even try operating one yourself. Inuyama Town is living culture. You don't just learn history here, you walk through it. Let's pause and ask something important. Why do castles still matter? In a world of smartphones and skyscrapers, why do we climb ancient stairs? Why do we care about dusty beams and faded floorboards? Because castles are more than structures. They are philosophies built in wood and stone. Inuyama Castle teaches us about resilience. It has survived fires, war, and time without ever falling. It teaches us about craftsmanship, the kind that doesn't cut corners, that honors every nail, every joint, every piece of timber. It teaches us about perspective, how to look outward from a height and see beyond your own little world. But most of all, it teaches us about legacy. The people who built this castle never saw its full glory. They built for a future they would never live in, and now, centuries later, we walk their hallways, look through their windows, and whisper thanks to strangers long gone. What else in our lives do we build for the future like that? Castles remind us to think long term, to plant trees we'll never sit under, to pass on more than we take. Inuyama Castle is not just history, it's a lesson, it's a mirror, it's a challenge, to live with the same intention and honour as those who came before.